One of the things I'm most fascinated by with the whole Wygand saga is that CBS was in the midst of a business situation where the entire company was basically on the market itself as a company, and Tisch himself, the owner, standing to gain a significant amount of money. Can you talk about a reporter working against the backdrop of corporate intrigue and hoping to tell the truth in the midst of all that?
I went into this with the understanding myself that we were going to have problems.
Right.
I told the lawyers at the beginning, a year and a half before, Wygand ever
Right.
gave us an interview, that if he ever talks, this is trouble. I explained that to them repeatedly. Here's where I knew there was going to be real problem. Right after Wygand sat down and did the interview, which I agreed to hold for at least a month, I had planned to use the interview. My plan was that ABC News had been sued by Philip Morris for $10 billion
Right.
for a story that had some problems, but about tobacco. And that trial was scheduled for October of that year. So I knew that Wygand had worked as a consultant to the attorneys for the defense, and that he wanted to testify at that trial. So what I planned to do was to run the story on the Sunday on the eve of trial, so that it would in some way have semi-legal protection because he was going to testify to all of this. It would be hard to
Right.
sue in that atmosphere. And two things happened quickly after the interview was in the can. One, ABC News settled the lawsuit. They themselves were being bought by Disney
Right.
and paid a $15 million payment to Philip Morris and read a retraction on the air that everybody in the news division knew was false. That put a chill into the general counsel and the corporation. CBS was also up for sale that August. It was announced. But at the same time, something else was announced, that there was a criminal inquiry beginning in the Justice Department of possible perjury by the 8 heads of the tobacco companies who had sworn that they didn't believe that nicotine was addictive. One of those people was the son of Larry Tisch,
The
owner
owner
of CBS, because they owned Lorillard Tobacco. So I have a situation where this has happened at ABC. The guy I have on camera, maybe he could derail the merger with Westinghouse and CBS at that point, but also might be a witness in a grand jury against the son of the owner of the company. So yeah, there's a lot of possible problems that would result from that. What's not understood, I think, about, and it's not really explained in the movie, is that this story was killed before it was ever done. There was no story to look at.
Right. You didn't
This
have
was in process.
Right.
The normal process would be to finish your rough cut of the story and show it to the bosses. They didn't let it get that far. My reaction was, the rules have changed. Their own process, the formal process we had, changed. In
Right.
Hewitt's words, the general counsel came to the news division for the first time in his tenure at CBS, which started in 1948. I went to the president of CBS News at the time, Eric Ober. I called him on the phone on October 3rd, 1995. And I said to him, "You're the president of the news division. The general counsel says we shouldn't run this story, this interview, but she's just a lawyer. What do you say?" And he said, "The corporation will not risk its assets on this story."
Wow.
And at that point, in my mind, the rules had changed, which is I was no longer a journalist operating under the rules of CBS News, and they were no longer CBS News operating under their own rule book.
They were no longer journalists.
Well, whatever they were not operating. The rules had changed.